Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And I am Miska.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So we've now put out a couple of videos analysing competitive Overwatch finals in the community so far, and each video has been met with similar responses. Basically, there's tournaments in a game that hasn't been released yet. That sounds like a dreadful idea. And we can kinda see why you'd think that. I mean, of course, there are going to be issues regarding grassroots Overwatch eSports and how people may be able to do it as a profession in the future. But in this video we kind of want to explain why esports tournaments aren't necessarily a bad thing. And here's our top 5 reasons why.
Starting with the obvious one, esports pre-launch really helps with nailing down those balancing issues. Blizzard opened the doors to a few select people to try out their game as a traditional beta, even though a lot of internet personalities such as streamers, YouTubers and esports people got access, but the level that all these people play at differs a lot, and that's what's important here. And having some of the best players in the world being able to play the game as competitively as they can means that they can really push these heroes to the brink, and to see how they fare in a game which has a little bit of pressure. It's also important to note that these people will then relay their information off to Blizzard, casters and those watching at home about their experiences with these heroes and why some heroes are completely necessary in professional play and why some need tweaking.
Looking at other Blizzard games, they really have an interesting spectrum regarding how their games fare on esports platforms. World of Warcraft has always had its niche market with PvP. Hearthstone has one of the biggest esports followings but kinda came from nowhere and was a bit unexpected. And Heroes of the Storm kind of pushed for an esports scene, but they're still working on growing it themselves. Having pre-beta tournaments kind of helps everybody gauge what the professional scene will look like, to get an idea of how big organisations like Gosu Gamers and the ESL are going to be organising tournaments in the future, what kind of rules will be in place, and if it's worth having like hero count limits or not. The list goes on. It's always good to generate hype, and if all these tournaments were all organised after launch, then it would take a while to get to the point where we're seeing things done in a decent way. I guess the main complaint we see about pre-launch esports is that it allows players and teams to get that time to get better at the game and to have that advantage. But to be honest, a couple of months isn't long enough time to build a considerable skill gap, especially because it's a team game and a lot of these players that are involved now are well versed in other shooters. I mean, looking at the best teams that are out there right now, all of them have got backgrounds in other games and their professional scenes. So it's less about having these people reap the rewards of a game that hasn't even come out yet. It's more about having these players that have sunk thousands of hours into other FPS games, giving their perspective to us at Blizzard on what should be changed and how the game should be broadcast in the future.
Meta is a word that is thrown around a lot regarding Overwatch, and there's no doubt that it's an important topic that will be discussed all the way up to launch and obviously afterwards. With people constantly asking questions like who's the best hero, what is the best team, and just trying to explore and shape the current metagame. It's crucial that we all see what kind of things are presented to us in these tournaments. For example, take a look at Hubris' D.Va spam strategy. It's a real viable way of being able to protect the payload as it reaches the end of the map. But it's up to Blizzard to decide whether that's a genuine strategy that can be used or if they feel like it's an exploit that needs to be fixed. And of course, as well, tournament play generates information and ideas that we can relate to you in video form. We intend to do guides for each of the characters once the game gets close to release, and for us to really understand the game, we need to see those incredible professional players use these characters and be able to make team compositions out of them. That way we can analyze, discuss and share, which is what this channel is all about really. As another example, we did a Central Combos miniseries on teams that are based around 2 tanks, 2 supports and 2 attacking/defending heroes, depending on what you're doing. We wouldn't have been able to create a guide like this without watching teams like Not Enigma and Melty playing in similar ways in the first couple tournaments. We took what we saw, broke it down and analyzed it and shared our thoughts with all of you. We expect that a lot of these top-down changes we will see with heroes like Torbjorn and Bastion will change things up again, so we will watch the best players do their thing and report back with what we found.
The UI is probably the first thing that springs to mind. It's generally the thing that needs the most work when it comes to professional play. Generally, I believe that the Spectator System was just kind of thrown in there for good measure, just like the AI practice and tutorial. None of these things were really done yet, but it was good of Blizzard to put them in just so they could improve them as they go along. But could you imagine if the Spectator System was like this at launch? It would have made the game close to unwatchable for new players and players that aren't familiar with Overwatch full stop. The professional scene would have killed itself before it was even able to properly launch. It's not the worst Spectator System in the world right now, but it doesn't really complement the tempo and style of Overwatch. There's so much information to bear in mind with the game, hero switching abilities, ultimate speed, and just that sort of twitch shooting capabilities. They're all factors that generate the fantastic moments, and the Spectator System just needs to be able to capture all of that as well as possible. Blizzard have plenty of time to sort this out. They can take this information on board and implement a better Spectator System for us watching at home, because otherwise, once the actual esports part of Overwatch comes around fully, nobody's going to be able to watch it.
And last but not least, it's generally all about having fun, discussing and learning from this experience. It's also fantastic that Blizzard are actively keeping up to date with these tournaments, even taking part in some of them, and generally using it to improve the game. It's easy to think that all of these companies setting up tournaments are just trying to jump on the Overwatch bandwagon, but really it's all about people in the community coming together and organizing events, which will in turn make the game a lot better when it launches in many ways. There are many creases that have been ironed out of the game already, and it really feels like Overwatch will look and feel fantastic when it comes out. And these tournaments definitely contribute towards that. So it's a very positive experience overall, and it's fun to watch. And if you don't feel like you understand it quite yet and want to wait until you play the game, then yes, of course, feel free to do so.
And that's that. 5 reasons why tournaments in the beta is a good thing all around for the game. Let us know what you think in the comments. It's been sort of a talking point that you've kind of mentioned already, so we kind of want to address that, and we're on the side that the more tournaments they see, the better the game will be at launch, and then people can start looking at that. We'll be sure to do more videos around this topic as a whole, but until next time, subscribe for more Overwatch content, take care, and we'll see you then.